and welcome back to another Kano Tryharding Modern. Now today, finally, I can play full power mono green Tron. We opened a ragavan out of one of the last Modern Horizons drafts I did, which gave me enough tickets by selling the said ragavan to purchase the final two Force of Vigors and do another Modern Horizons 2 draft with the proceeds. I also, in the course of the last week, opened up 2 Endurance, so I can actually play this list as written, minus the Crucible of Worlds, because Crucible of Worlds is a terrible card in Tron, and I will still maintain that opinion. I'm still interested to see why this deck is playing Surgical in the main. I'm not going to really pretend to understand it. I know it's a 0-mana way to interact with the graveyard, prevent your opponent from doing delirium things. I don't know if it's good, because I haven't really gotten the opportunity to use it yet. The last version that I played, I slowly took these cards out because they barely ever showed up, and they barely ever showed up when they ever could do anything. I think I surgically extracted one thing and it was good that one time. So, that being said, we're playing 17 lands, 2 forests, which feels a little weird to me, still does. I know Ghost Quarter's not really a played card right now, so we don't really have to worry as much. Cleansing Wildfire also not being played as much, so the basic land tutors aren't as necessary. Yavimaya is better than I thought it would be, but overall, I'm still not sure on this card. But I haven't been seeing Blood Moons, so I've only been seeing Alpine Moons for Saga-related reasons, and Alpine Moon is just fine against Tron, because it still lets us cast the things we need to cast. Other than that, this is basically the exact same as the last Tron list. The sideboard is different. Obviously, we have a lot of pitch spells. Endurance is going to be good versus Mill, because we can Endurance and target ourselves, and we can stack the triggers in such a way that Endurance goes to the grave first, and then everything gets shuffled back in. I'm 99% sure. We also have a full 4 of Force of Vigor. This card's like $40 a piece right now. Because it's very, very good and very strong. And it's definitely better than Nature's Claim or Wilt, because this casting Force of Vigor gets around Blood Moon, it gets around Alpine Moon, it gets around Chalice of the Void, it gets around anything that your opponent generally would do that would hate out what you're doing, and it can destroy up to 2 things. So it can be important versus decks like Colossus Hammer Combo, Affinity, that sort of thing. And without further ado, let's go ahead and take this into a Constructed League, and we'll see how we do. It's a relatively long queue time for Constructed. Alrighty. We'll be on the draw for round 1. Probably. It's not likely that your opponent in Modern takes the draw. They're almost always going to take the play. We have Natural Tron. Well, not Natural Tron, because we don't have all 3 Tron pieces, but we have Expedition Map and 2 Tron pieces, which means we should get Tron on turn 3. We do have a Chromatic Sphere and a Ancient Stirrings, so maybe on turn 3 we can dig, provided we haven't drawn a threat by then. I will be keeping this. Let's see how our opponent starts. They lead on a mountain. Conflagrate X0, so my opponent is probably some form of Dredge. Okay. Because I drew the 3rd Tron land, I'm just going to go for the Ancient Stirrings play. Mana Confluence. They could just Conflagrate, dump their whole hand. They Cathartic Reunion, dumping Prized Amalgam and another Conflagrate. Okay. We untap and draw Sanctum of Ugin. Let's go ahead and cycle Star for green, Ancient Stirrings, and we can either take Wormcoil or Karn Liberated. Kozilek's not really going to do much. I think we take Wormcoil, rest of the bottom, play Power Plant, play out map, pass the turn. Okay, I'm going to play as a Copperline Gorge. Cathartic again, this time dumping a Stinkweed Imp. Got a whole bunch of Prized Amalgams. They've already played a land this turn, so they can't just reanimate Bloodghast. They haggle, ditching Stinkweed Imp, digging a little further. Still not hitting a Narcomoeba to get back their Prized Amalgams. We untap. We draw Surgical. Okay. So, play Tower, play Wormcoil, and probably what's going to end up happening here is we're going to Surgical that Prized Amalgam. When it draws, they Dredge into a Narcomoeba. So we let them have the Narcomoeba. It's going to trigger all the amalgams. They can loam. Alright, they get back Bloodghast. So I think they can loam and kill the front half of Wormcoil Engine if they dump their whole hand to a Conflagrate. Life from the loam, picking up 3 lands. They crack Scalding Tarn. I could Surgical Conflagrate, but taking out the amalgams is much, much higher priority. Like, just ending up with 3 3s, with one with Death Touch, one with Lifelink is still going to be good. They ditch a few Dredgers, and a Creeping Chill. Okay. Let's go ahead and Surgical that prized amalgam. We untap. We draw an Ancient Stirrings. So let's go ahead and crack map. Get a forest. Play forest. Ancient Stirrings. Take Ulamog. Rest to the bottom. Go to combat. And attack for 6. Opponent goes to 10. We go to 21. Pass the turn. We can Warping Wail to counter a sorcery if we need to. So main deck Surgicals. Generally good against Dredge. Okay, they mill into a Creeping Chill. They get back the Ox if they want. It looks like that's what they're doing. Okay, so Ox of Agonus. They ditch their hand, which is the single Stinkweed. They dredge into a Chill. Dredge into a Chill. Okay, so they're going to drain us for 6. They go to 12. They go to combat. Attack for 3. I could exile the Bloodghast. I think I'm going to wait to do that. The concern is if I Ulamog, and I'm almost guaranteed have to Ulamog here. My opponent can just loam, then Conflagrate to finish us off, probably. If they're Conflagrating now, we are going to counter that. They're going to play another Ox. Okay. So they ditch their hand. They're going to dredge? They only have 9 cards left. They went to 1 card in deck. And they dredged a Life from the Loam. They get a Narcomoeba. Let me think about this. So next turn, my opponent's going to have 4 cards in hand. If I Warping Wail to kill the Bloodghast, and I Ulamog, exiling 2 lands, I have Ulamog to block. He'll be able to Conflagrate and kill a token, and I can block. We would have... Because if I exile both green sources, they can't loam first. So they can only Conflagrate X4 at maximum. And if I exile both lands and leave back everything as blockers, unless they have a green land in hand, I mean, it might just be better to exile the Oxen then. But I can't leave up Warping Wail next turn. I don't have enough mana, because I didn't play a Tron land last turn. I could just Warping Wail to make another blocker. That does technically prevent more damage. So I'm going to do that. Okay, we untap. We draw Karn, Great Creator. Does that change things? If I play Karn and I wish for Grafdigger's Cage, they can't Conflagrate. Like, they actually just can't cast it, because they can't cast anything out of their grave. They would only have 1 turn to kill us. We have enough blockers. Hang on, let me see what they dredged again. Opponent dredged Thug, dredged Loam, and has 1 unknown in hand. If I play Cage, they can't cast Conflagrate at all. Even if they loam. Doesn't matter. I could play a land... Well, I'm playing this tower, regardless. I have 11 mana. So I could Sylvan Scrying, Fail to Find, and go get Bridge. My opponent goes up to 4. I think I would die if I played Ensnaring Bridge. I feel like Grafdigger's Cage is the way to go here. I actually have 12 mana because I could sack the Scion. I could go get Sundering Titan or O-Stone. Don't think that would be good, though. Let's go get Grafdigger's Cage, and then just do our blocks. Sylvan Scrying for, I guess, another tower. Pass the turn. Because they cannot dredge their last card out of their deck. Opponent says, well played. So block like that. We go to 10. And they scoop. Alright. So we did get there. So versus our opponent, I think we do want the Endurance. Let me see. I don't know if there's a recent Dredge list. It's kind of interesting that Dredge hasn't been played, but at the same time, like, the other decks seem to be, like, higher power than Dredge. Okay, there are some Dredge decks. So out of the sideboard, they'll have Alpine Moon, Nature's Claim, Ancient Grudge. I think we just want the Endurance. If that's the case, I think I'm going to cut an All Is Dust and a Kozilek for those. I could put Grafdigger's Cage in the main, but because they're going to have removal for permanents, like Engineered Explosives and the like, I'm going to lean on Surgical to get it done. Okay, this hand is bad. This hand is worse. I can work with this. I'm not a huge fan of it, so I need to put back Karn and Star. Opponent mulligan to 4. And they Thoughtseize us. Alright. You can take Surgical, or you can take Endurance. Probably should take Surgical. I think Surgical is better versus them. They take Surgical, alright. We untap. Draw Ugin. Play a Mine, pass the turn. I mean, Yavi Maya does make Endurance actually castable. Like, we don't have to use the Exile mode. We only have to do that if our opponent gets some insane Dredge off early. They play a Shriekhorn, okay. Then they Conflagrate X0. That is a very, very slow Dredge start. Okay, we get a Karn. So we're going to play Yavi Maya, and I am going to tutor for a land here. Opponent mills Mountain Loam. We're going to get a Power Plant. Because any land lets us just hardcast Endurance, which is fantastic. Opponent dredges a Creeping Chill on their upkeep, milling over another Thoughtseize. They're going to dredge Loam because it's the only dredge they have. They Creeping Chill us again. They can Loam to pick up lands, but things are not looking good for our dredge opponent. Because if we land a Karn on this board, or we land an Ugin, it's game over. I don't think our opponent can come back from that. So we untap, we draw a Warping Whale, play Power Plant, pass the turn. Opponent cracks Wooded Foothills. For a Blood Crypt, they untap, they dredge Loam, they play Scalding Tarn. Do we know the other card in their hand? I think it's a land, right? I could Endurance now. I don't think that's the correct thing to do here. It's unlikely they have an instant speed draw spell. They're holding a Loam. Maybe I was supposed to Endurance before they dredged? I'm gonna go for it. We untap. We draw a Tower. Oh, game over. This is so awful for them. Go to combat. Attack for 3. Play Tower. Now do we play Karn or Ugin? I think we play Karn. Oop. And they have a Loam. I'm gonna uptick. Because if their other card is Cathartic Reunion, that's how we're gonna lose. It's a mountain. Okay. So it was 3 lands they picked up. I wasn't paying attention. Either way, this still prevents them from top-decking Cathartic. Opponent mills a Thug and a Copperline Gorge. They untap. They dredge Thug. So they get back Narcomoeba, which will trigger and give them, or which will trigger a Prized Amalgam. They'll get a Prized Amalgam on their end step. They can Loam again to pick up 2 lands and play 1 if they want. We already got rid of 1 Conflagrate, though, by putting it back in their deck. Okay, so opponent hardcasts Thug, and they Loam nothing. They Loam nothing because they want that Ox. They get back Amalgam. We untap. We draw a Blast Zone. Can I stop them from getting enough cards in grave? I think if I exile a land, I can stop them from getting enough cards in grave to do what they want to do. Play Blast Zone. Play Ugin. -3. Pass the turn. Because now they can dredge. They can get back a Bloodghast by loaming a land, but that prevents them from playing the Ox. Okay? And the game is over. Alright. We beat Dredge, and Endurance was a critical part of that. Cards, $60 or whatever for a reason. I'll see you guys in round 2. Alright, we're on the play for round 2, and I don't think this is necessarily a good hand. I mean, maybe it is. It's just risky. Especially against an unknown opponent. I feel like we've got better 6s. This qualifies. So we'll keep this, and I can either put back a threat, or I can put back Surgical. I think I'm going to put back Karn, Great Creator. I've got a feeling maybe this Surgical I could do something with. Karn Great Creator may be a better threat if we don't get Tron, but if we don't get Tron, odds are we're going to lose. Like the only situation where that would be, or Karn Great Creator would be better than Karn Liberated is if this is an affinity opponent. Our opponent has mulligan to 5. So lead on power plant, play sphere, pass the turn. Opponent untaps, they draw, they play a Seagate Reborn. So this could be oops all spells. We draw an Ugin, cycle for green mana, we get a Warping Whale, Ancient Stirring, pick up a tower, rest of the bottom, play the tower, pass the turn. If this is oops all spells, Surgical will beat them. Okay, Stomping Ground, this could just be Belcher. The opponent ices tower. We get Surgical, play mine. We're going to stop on our opponent's draw step. Surgical, Fire and Ice. So this is probably the Cascade deck then. It is the Cascade deck. Well, the good news is we can counter their Crashing Footfalls and then Surgical Crashing Footfalls and then resolve Karn. And they'll be in trouble. Opponent plays a Gemstone Caverns, yep. Shardless Agent. They wheel into Footfalls. Counter target sorcery. Let's go ahead and Surgical Crashing Footfalls. So they're holding Fury, Misty, Violent Outburst, and Dead and Gone. Seems good. We draw a land, we play Ugin. We don't draw a land, we play Karn. Play Karn. Uptick Karn on our opponent's hand. They're going to exile Violent Outburst. Exile Dead and Gone, okay. They got nothing left to Cascade into unless I misread their deck list. They play Misty. They go to combat. They attack Karn. He goes to 8. If we uptick, we should be able to keep him out of Fury range unless my opponent double Furies. But that was probably the best cards we could have versus our opponent was Warping Whale and a Surgical. So out of the sideboard, they play Blood Moon, Force of Vigor, Endurance, and Mystical Dispute. Sometimes extra Furies. That's about it. So we really just got to bring in the Force of Vigors. Easy. The whole advantage to their deck. I mean, they play, like, Force of Negation, and they play... I'm pretty sure there's another counterspell they play, but, like, if we're Surgical on their turn, there's nothing they can do about it. We draw Worm Coil, uptick on our opponent's hand, get Violent Outburst, play Worm Coil, pass the turn. Game over. The people's Tron. Alright, Force of Vigor's in. I kind of want to bring in this Chalice, because if we can play it before our opponent cascades, it's amazing. I'm going to drop all his dust and Kozilek. I can't drop all the Ugins. I think keeping the Chalice in the sideboard's fine, because we can play Karn and then play it on 0 if we happen to be in a weird situation like that. I don't think we want Endurance. I could cut a Worm Coil, because then I could just wish for a Worm Coil if I end up needing it. No. Alright. Well, we got Warping Whale, ×2, Surgical Extraction, and Expedition Map. We just don't have a second land. I think I am going to keep this because we are on the draw. Because this hand so perfectly counters what our opponent is doing, I think we have to keep it. Opponent starts Steam Vents tapped. We draw Chromatic Star. I'm going to lead on Chromatic Star because I really want to get a second land. The concern is my opponent can Blood Moon without us having a second green card in hand. Chromatic Star also sort of helps alleviate that. Opponent fetches a basic forest. They're going to Petty Theft the Chromatic Star, which unfortunately we have no way to sacrifice or destroy. We draw a Chromatic Sphere, replay the star, pass the turn. So if we see Blood Moon now, it's a problem. Maybe this hand was too slow. Maybe this was too reliant on drawing a second land. So they play Scalding Tarn. If they fetch a basic island, this is a Blood Moon. Shardless. Okay. Well, unfortunately, we cannot counter Crashing Footfalls. Let's go ahead and Surgical the Crashing Footfalls. They do have a Blood Moon, and they do have a Fury. Okay. We untap. We draw Chromatic Star. Sack Star for green. Okay. This game is a lost cause. We will be dead before we can do anything. Okay. Run it back. No adjustments. That was a very risky hand. We can do better. Okay, that hand does nothing. This hand maybe assembles Tron. It's just slow. Do we want to go to 5? At the minimum, we can play Karn Great Creator on 4. I don't think that's good enough. We're going to 5. I do not want to keep a hand like this again. I think I'm going to have to, though. Our 4s are a lot worse than our 5s on average. So we're going to put back Karn and Sphere, I think. So play Power Plant, play Star. But we really only have 2 draws to hit a land. Opponent leads on Wooded Foothills. Cracks Wooded Foothills. Gets a forest. Suspends a Crashing Footfalls, okay? We untap, draw Power Plant. Cycle for green. Get a Noodlemog. Sylvan Scrying. Get an Urza's Mine. Pass the turn. Footfall's ticking down. If we can get to 4 mana, we can put Chalice on 0, which helps a lot. Opponent plays an island. They ice a power plant, that's fine. We get a Warping Whale. Play an Urza's Mine, pass the turn. Crashing Footfalls ticks down to 2. Now I could Warping Whale to make a Scion here, but that fails super hard to a Petty Theft. So we're just going to wait, untap, and draw. Okay, they ice a power plant. We get a Yavimaya. Play Yavimaya. Pass the turn. Opponent is trying hard to get to their 3rd land. Crashing Footfalls ticks down to 1. They got 1 turn left before it comes off suspend, and we will try and fight over it with Warping Whale. Okay. Opponent plays Scalding Tarn. If they go for a Cascade here, we counter Surgical, untap Karn, and Chalice on 0. That doesn't guarantee deal with the Footfalls, though. If they don't go for the Cascade, then we just wait. Okay, Tower changes things. So go play Tower. I could just exile all their lands. Is that better? How do they deal with an Noodlemog? Hang on. We know our opponent is missing land drops. Their counter spells counter non-creature spells only. Unless they have Subtlety, which several versions that I looked up did not have. Let's go ahead and Noodlemog. Take out their basics. If they Subtlety us, we just do this again next turn and take out the Rhinos. Like, their best play is Cascade here in response. Get more Rhinos. Opponent says, LOL, nice. Opponent cracks Scalding Tarn in response. They shock Esteem Vents. Okay. Violent Outburst. They get a Crashing Footfalls. Noodlemog exiles their lands. Pass the turn. So this Crashing Footfalls comes off suspend. Stop on their draw step. Surgically extract Footfalls. Unless they can Endurance themselves, we get it here. Bone Crusher, Fire Ice, Shardless, Shardless, Shardless. Oh, and I think they have, what's it called? I think they have the Petty Theft. So I don't think Ensnaring Bridge is going to be enough. So really what we want to do is be able to wish for Oblivion Stone. So 4 for Karn, 3 for O-Stone, 5 to activate, and then we can kill them with Ulamog because it's indestructible. Okay. Play Karn, wish, use its ability, grab Oblivion Stone, play Oblivion Stone, nuke the Rhinos, and our own Karn. Game over. Oh, surgical extraction seems awfully important. I might have been wrong. All right, well, we're 2-0. I'll see you guys in round 3. All right, we are on the play for round 3. Opponent is a Luris deck. This hand probably not going to be good enough. Maybe. I don't want to mulligan too much because if they're a Thoughtseize deck, this hand is already going to be not great. Put back a Karn. Like, us going to 5 and our opponent playing a Thoughtseize is like the worst of the worst. So let's see what we're up against here. Inkmoth Nexus. So this is Hammer Time. So unfortunately, we need to leave up Warping Whale this turn. Probably what I'll do is I'll set Chromatic Star for green using the Forest, Warping Whale to interact however I need to interact. And then, okay, opponent plays a Pure Steel Paladin. They've got a hammer. They get to draw a card. Okay. Sack Star for green. We draw Ugin, which is not what you want. Exile Esper Sentinel. Unfortunately, they get to draw a card here. Opponent plays a Memnite. Suits up Pure Steel. And I think we are going to be a turn 2 slow. Play the tower. Sylvan Scrying. Get a power plant. Pass the turn. Now, if they have second hammer, we die. Actually, no, we're just dead because they could animate Inkmoth Nexus and equip. Oh, I guess that they would be worried about a Warping Whale. Okay, we're just dead to a second hammer anyway. Yep. All right, we return too slow. The good news is, post board, we have 4 Force of Vigor to bring in. I'm going to take the Surgical out, and I'm going to bring in Dismember. I know All Is Dust is going to be bad, and Ugin's going to be bad, and Kozilek's going to be bad. So we'll bring in the Dismembers. I'm probably going to need the Worm Coil engines. I'll leave one Surgical in the main deck. Because if we Surgical Hammer, they become a very bad Metalcraft Aggro deck. But I don't know how likely that is. Because we are on the play, I could actually bring in Chalice rather than Surgical. Because if we Chalice on 0, they're going to have a tough time. Or if we Chalice on 1, they're going to have a tough time. It wouldn't be impossible for them to beat it, though, and it would probably slow us down more than it slowed them down. And really, it's only good if it's in our opener. Okay, I would like to play first. So, I'm kind of seeing the power of Surgical. God, this is kind of risky, but I will keep this. I'm seeing the power of Surgical for Grave Hate, because with Prismatic Ending running around, Relic, Grafdigger's Cage, all those types of spells are way worse than they normally are. I kept this hand because we do have Force, 2/3 of Tron, and a redraw. With 4 Force of Vigors, the odds of us drawing a green spell go up by like 50%. Opponent plays a Silent Clearing into a Sigarda's Aid. Okay, so the good news is we're not dying immediately. We get an Expedition map, sack Star for green, we get a Power Plant, play map, play Power Plant, pass the turn. And if we land a Karn, opponent is going to have a really, really tough time. They play Saga and Stoneforge. Okay, so any way they can get a hammer onto the battlefield, including Stoneforge's ability, is really good for them. We untap. We draw Dismember. Dismember here is pretty big, because what that allows me to do is play Tower, play Karn, Wish with Karn. We'll go and get Coding, play Coding, Dismember Stoneforge Mystic, stop on my opponent's turn, shut off their white mana, game's over. Yeah, because with Karn on the battlefield, the only way they can equip Hammer is with Aid and putting it directly into play with Stoneforge. That worked out. Alright, run it back. Force of Vigor seems to be a really, really good card right now. Just saying. People are running enchantment lands, people are running artifact abuse decks. I think I gotta keep this because it's got 2 redraws and a Dismember. This is not the most interactive hand. We're putting back Noodlemog because Noodlemog doesn't do anything for the longest amount of time. Obviously, we do have much better hands. We probably have a couple of better 5s, but I think that the chance of getting a better 5 than this 6 is not that great. Okay, we get a Sylvan Scrying, and we play a Chromatic Star, which does mean we will have Tron on turn 3. Opponent starting by mulliganing to 5 and only playing a Plains is great news for us. They play a Saga. They play a Void Mirror. Okay, that's a problem. And that is a problem because we only stuck 1 star. So sack Star for green, draw a card, we get another star. Play Mine. Now I can Sylvan Scrying for Tower, but if I do, I can't cast anything else. So I think what I have to do here is Sylvan Scrying and go get Yavimaya, just to ensure that I'll be able to cast my spells. Because that lets us cast Dismember, that lets us cast all of our Spheres and Stars. Okay, Saga ticks up to 2, they play Plains. So they're going to rely on the Saga to carry them this game, I think. We untap and draw another Mine. Play Yavimaya, play Chromatic Star, cycle for green, get a Force, play Chromatic Sphere off of green, pass the turn. We just have to make sure we tap for mana of the correct color. So opponent makes a 2/2, untaps, draws a card, goes to their main phase. So they're either going to make another construct or they're going to float mana. Good news is we can just hard cast Force of Vigor on 4. So we're 100% casting Dismember this turn. Question is on what? So this is why we're playing Yavimaya. It's Void Mirror specifically. The fact that we don't have to run as many basics due to Ghost Quarter and Cleansing Wildfire basically not existing in this current metagame, Yavimaya is the reason we are playing, or like, our Void Mirror is the reason we are playing Yavimaya. I no longer have any critique of Yavimaya being in this deck list because of this exact situation. It's not something I've considered. This is the first time I've run into it, and this is why it is good. Opponent really deep in the tank about this ability. Okay, they float green. So this is either going to be a Pithing Needle or a Colossus Hammer. If they Pithing Needle Chromatic Sphere, we can still activate it because it's a mana ability. They can Pithing Needle a Planeswalker. They can Pithing Needle Oblivion Stone. Okay. Yeah, that doesn't work. Pretty sure. Yeah, it's a mana ability. Opponent plays a Plains. They got 4 mana. They play Sigarda's Aid. So I'm going to sack this for black. And then I'm going to dismember the construct in response. Oops. You have to do this with Moto's interface. You have to pay the Phyrexian mana first if you're using mana of the same color. And we're doing this because they could have Colossus Hammer, of course. Okay, we untap. We draw a third Force of Vigor. Okay. Play an Urza's Mine. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps and draws. Plays a land. We're going to put Lurrus in their hand. Okay. So us destroying Sigarda's Aid and Void Mirror here is slightly annoying to them, but they can just get back either one with Lurrus next turn, provided, of course, they play a land. Otherwise, they could get back Sigarda's Aid. We draw another Power Plant. Play the Power Plant, pass the turn. The good news is we have 2 more Force of Vigors in hand, which means we have like 2 more Fogs, effectively. Opponent plays Lurrus. They're going to replay Sigarda's Aid. Oh, they play Springleaf Drum. Okay, that lets them replay Sigarda's Aid. Destroy those. Untap. I don't want to destroy Pithing Needle because if I do, it gives them the opportunity to reset it on something way more important. So pass back to our opponent. They play Sigarda's Aid. They go to combat. They attack for 3. No blocks. They play a hammer. Suit it up. They play a hammer. Suit it up. So this only lets you do this on your turn. So we're going to kill both hammers. And we need to draw a land to play this Karn, or we need to draw Great Creator. Ancient Stirrings is a really, really good spell here. Unfortunately, we did not hit a tower, so we need to get Karn Great Creator out. Rest to the bottom in any order. Play Karn. And I need to play Cage. That does let them kill Karn Great Creator, but it's really our only option. Okay, so they can attack and kill Karn. If they have Prismatic Ending, we could be in trouble. We're dead to a Colossus Hammer. Okay, so we did not hit a tower off of that Ancient Stirrings, and we did not draw a land, which is why we lost. If we had drawn a land, we could have played Karn, exiled Lurrus. They wouldn't have had a creature capable of attacking this turn. And then we would have drawn Sanctum of Ugin and been able to play Ugin the next turn. If we had hit Tower off of Ancient Stirrings, we would have played Ugin. We would have exiled both Lurrus and Sigarda's Aid, and our opponent would be dead in the water. And unfortunately, that's it. So the one change I made to this deck list, by the way, is I replaced Crucible of the Worlds out of the sideboard with Grafdiggers Cage, and I think that was 100% the correct choice, given all of the decks that we've seen today. I'll see you guys in round 4. Unfortunately, Hammer Time's a tough matchup. Maybe I got a little overzealous with those Force of Vigors, but I think overall I still did it correct. All right, we're on the play for round 4, and we do have turn 3 Tron into a threat, so I will be keeping. We have All Is Dust if we need to reset the board. I think the only thing we have to worry about that's main decked right now would be a turn 1 Prismatic Ending to exile Expedition Map. That would be very unfortunate. But of course, Troning is what we came here to do in this hand Trons. Opponent mulligan to 5. Lead on Power Plant Map. Pass the turn. Even if our opponent does have Prismatic Ending, we could of course always draw an Urza's Mine. We could draw a green source that would let us Sylvan Scrying. Opponent plays Piranha Marsh, and I already don't know what they're playing. In the history of my decade or so playing this format, have never, in multiple thousands of rounds, ever seen someone play Piranha Marsh. So I'm going to check and see. There are no modern lists with Piranha Marsh. I have no idea what my opponent is playing, and I am scared. Urza's Tower past the turn. Oh, I'm not laughing at my opponent's deck. Not just one Piranha Marsh, multiple Piranha Marshes. Concern intensifies. Let's go get our Urza's Mine. We untap and draw Ulamog, play Urza's Mine, play Karn Liberated, take out a land, pass the turn. Opponent untaps. 3. Opponent is playing Piranha Marsh Tron. I still have no idea what they're playing. We draw Forest, nuke a Piranha Marsh, play Karn Great Creator. We are going to wish for Trinisphere so that they can't cast spells, and then we will next turn, of course, get Liquid Metal Coating and then keep them out of the game with Liquid Metal Coating. While, of course, Sylvan Scrying for another tower will Ulamog. Piranha Marsh, Piranha Marsh, Piranha Marsh, Steam Vents tapped. Alright, we draw Chromatic Sphere, wish with Karn Great Creator, get Liquid Metal Coating, play Coating, Sylvan Scrying, get a tower, play a tower, pass the turn, stop on their upkeep, shut off Steam Vents. Okay, I was hoping to maybe surgical them and see what was going on. I have no idea what I'm playing against. So I think what I'm going to do is drop a Worm Coil for a Force. Drop an All Is Dust for a Force. They seem like a slower deck, so I don't think we need All Is Dust. I'll cut it entirely and bring in 2 more Force of Vigors. And I think I keep everything else the same. I'm just kind of hedging my bets here. Yeah, I have to say, in nearly 10 years of playing this format at every level from competitive all the way to like the most casual modern games, I have never seen someone play Piranha Marsh, which is just, it's interesting to me. Because like my first thought when I saw it was like maybe they're like the budget 1-drop black aggro deck, the one that plays like the 1/1 Skulk lifelink and the 1/1 Death Touch lifelink. Like, obviously that's not the case. They're playing Steam Vents. I just don't know. I will keep this. I'm going to put back... Oh, do I put back a Sylvan Scrying or a redundant land here? I put back a redundant land because Sylvan Scrying... I put back both redundant lands because if I draw a Force of Vigor and need to cast it with Natural Tron, Mishra's Factory, okay. Every single play my opponent has made so far has been a surprise. Just, I have no idea what I'm playing against. But we kept the green card because if we drew Force of Vigor and need to Force of Vigor, we can, basically. That's the upside of, I guess, potentially playing around like a Fulminator Mage or a Rain of Tears or Arid Mesa. Okay. We draw an Ancient Stirrings. Players is mine. Pass the turn. When it cracks Arid Mesa, it's a Steam Vents tapped. I'm fighting the urge to surgical that Arid Mesa just to know what they're doing. Sun-Scorched Desert. Is this Calibrated Blast? Oh, it's Calibrated Blast combo. So they're playing a whole bunch of lands that deal damage to finish somebody off after revealing an Emrakul to a Calibrated Blast. That's what's happening. Autochthon Worm. You got it. 15 damage, we go to 4. Okay, so we need a way to gain life. Because I'm going to get, like, soul spiked or something. They have a Ramanop Ruins, which will kill us in 2 turns. No, they have to have red mana for that. So right now we have at least 2 turns until lethal. Okay, we untap. We draw Yavimaya. Play Yavimaya. Ancient Stirrings. Take Ugin. I think Ugin has a faster win condition. Pass the turn. Because I can't even cast Ulamog, like, before I die. So our opponent either has to have another red source into... They have another red source. We are dead next turn. Oh, never mind. I'm just dead right now. Oh, I can make a blocker. I'm not dead. Make a 1/1. Wormcoil Engine doesn't even save me here because my opponent can just play Ramanop Ruins, pay 4 mana, sack a desert, and kill us. Oh, I lost a Calibrated Blast combo. I can play Ugin. It just doesn't do anything. That is something. I mean, let's just confirm. There's nothing I can do. I can Sylvan Scrying. None of the lands I get can block or stop a Ramanop Ruins activation. Alright. You got me fair and square, opponent. And you beat me with a deck that I've not seen before. That's a feat, actually. Okay. So we have no way to interact with a Calibrated Blast except for possibly surgicaling. Let me see if there's anything... Okay, there are no recent 5-0 deck lists for this combo. Alright, we just have to keep a fast Tron hand. I would like to play first. This is not a fast Tron hand. Neither is this. Calibrated Blast is an instant, so we can't counter it with Warping Whale. I might actually lose to this. It's kind of exciting. Alright, Natural Tron. We'll put back Blast Zone, we'll put back Chromatic Sphere. I'll be interested to see if they have any sideboard tricks they can bring in. They lead on a tap land. We draw Kozilek, play Power Plant, pass the turn, leave up Warping Whale. They Piranha Marsh us. They're not casting a spell from the library. I can't Chalice on 3, even if I Warping Whale to make an additional token. I have no way to Nevermore. Trinisphere, they're going to have 3 mana. So I have to play Karn. I have to wish for Liquid Metal Coating. And then they could still Calibrated Blast us on our turn. I don't have Orbs of Warding, so we'll play Karn. Wish with Karn. I have no way to guarantee more mana. I could wish for Wormcoil, but I need to be attacking their mana, I think, in order to win. So I'm going to play out a Chromatic Sphere, and I'm going to play out a Liquid Metal Coating. And on their upkeep, I'm going to shut off Indatha Triome. They cannot Calibrated Blast without red mana. They have it, they shock. Okay, so we untap. We draw Chromatic Star. Cycle Star for green. If we could Sundering Titan, is there a way for us to Sundering? I can blow up a red land and hope they don't have a red land. If I play Star, Cycle Star, and get a tower, I can Sundering Titan to take out 2 lands. Okay, that actually makes me feel a little bit better, because now I don't have to pay life to surgically extract. So play Chromatic Star. We go after the red land. They're going to Calibrated Blast in response. And they're going to target us with the damage. They pretty much have to. Okay, Calibrated Blast. They reveal Throes of Chaos. Okay. So Throes of Chaos means that they have to deal damage to Karn, because it's not enough damage to kill us. It's not enough damage to even threaten us. Okay. Okay, things are getting interesting. Unfortunately, Throes of Chaos does mean that our opponent has, like, the capability to fizzle. I'm going to cycle for black, and the reason that I'm doing this is 1, to draw another card, but 2, so I don't have to pay life to Surgical. We draw an Urza's Mine, play an Urza's Mine, and then surgically extract Calibrate Blast. We get to see what's in their hand. I should technically do this. No, I shouldn't do this on their draw step. Especially not when they have the potential to be holding one right now. So they have a Mishra's Factory and Ramanop Ruins. So their plan now is Scion of Draco or Manland Aggro plus pings. Okay. We have gotten rid of the dangerous spell. If our opponent does nothing, we Warping Whale to make a 1/1 on their end step. Then we cast Kozilek, untap, we draw Surgical, play Kozilek, draw some cards. Okay. Play Power Plant, pass the turn. Just told them that their deck looks awesome. So the Tri-lands are not only for cycling, they're for Scion of Draco too. The opponent says they don't really have options versus Surgical. I'm not sure what you could play. I saw a version of this deck, but it was playing like Chancellor of the Dross and I told them they could play like Scavenger Grounds to maybe deal with a Surgical. Nephalia Academy I'm happy to see, because Nephalia Academy was something that I used to play in Ad Nauseam for the Hollow One matchup. Something I also used to play in Time Warp. Time Warp was the deck that really abused it, because your opponent... So if you play Nephalia Academy, and your opponent plays Burning Inquiry, you choose which 3 cards you discard at random, but then you pick the order they go back on top of your deck. So if you're playing Time Warps and you're playing Temporal Mastery, you can stick a Temporal Mastery on top of your deck from your hand and then just like obliterate your opponent. Anyway, opponent's deck was sweet. Mastercraft 23. I have to say, that was awesome. Thank you for the experience, and I'm happy. Anytime that I don't play against a Ragavan, Lurrus, Dragon's Rage Channeler, Bauble Pile, is a good Modern game, whether I win or lose. So thank you for playing something that isn't meta and cool. All right, and I'll see you all in round 5. Man, just in between games thoughts here. I wonder if you could build a deck that was like Archive Trap, Chancellor of the Spires, 4 Surgical, 4 Extirpate. Because it seems like versus a lot of these decks, they rely on one card. And if you Surgical that card, it's just game over. And so, like, if you have a free mill spell at the beginning of the game that they can't respond to the mill spell, and you hit that card, you win. That's so weird to me. All right, we are on the play for round 5. We're against Spicy Leche. And that's a mulligan, I think. This is also bad. I want a 5. I want a 4. All right, it's bad. Start on Urza's Power Plant, pass the turn. Opponent kept 7. They lead on a mountain, play Dragon's Rage Channeler. Okay. Luckily, we do have a plan for this. Pass the turn. Don't give them the opportunity. They have a Pyrite Spellbomb. They play a Verdant Catacomb, so this is probably the Jund Ragavan pile. Pass the turn. Actually, no, I don't think it is, because that deck runs Lurrus. That deck is actually the deck that I'm like, I hate people for playing. Okay, there's an Underworld cookbook. Okay, this is Jund Food? Yep. Alright. Yep. We untap. Play Chromatic Sphere. Cycle it for green. Ancient Stirrings. Take an Urza's Mine. Rest of the bottom. Play Urza's Mine. Pass the turn. And if we draw Urza's Tower, we play a Karn, and that's going to be very bad for our opponent. Opponent cycles away a Fiery Islet. Plays a Renin 6. Unfortunately, I do not have a Pithing Needle. They pick up Fiery Islet. They hit us for 3. Any land actually gets us to Karn Great Creator, which would be nice. Okay, Tower is nice. Play Tower. So I can get anything that's 5 mana or less. So I think that means Ensnaring Bridge. I could get Trinisphere here. Let's get Ensnaring Bridge. So play Karn Great Creator. Opponent did not make foods in response. Wish. Get Ensnaring Bridge. Play the bridge. Now, if my opponent has like Assassin's Trophies and stuff, we're going to have a bad time. I have not seen this version of this deck. Opponent bolts Karn. Alright. They play Urza's Saga. They cycle Bauble. There's a bunch of different modern decks actually running this. Okay, so this deck looks like Jund Food. It's got Gilded Goose, Ragavan, Renin 6, Grist Hungertide, Liliana the Veil, Galvanic Blast. Maybe this isn't the same deck. Opponent is playing some variation of food, of course. So we draw a Chromatic Star. So I think what we do here... Oh, what do we do here? I want a Karn Liberated and take out Renin 6. I'm not 100% that that's the play. If this is the deck that I'm looking at, they don't have a way to deal with that Ensnaring Bridge. They probably have Lightning Bolts, though. Take out Renin 6. Play Chromatic Star. Pass the turn. But it makes more foods. They untap. Urza's Saga ticks up to 2 and gains its dreaded construct ability. They cycle a Bauble. They play a Fiery Islet. And they pass. We untap. Get an Urza's Tower. I mean, I can go get Sundering Titan, take out a mountain and a forest. It doesn't seem bad. Let's exile a card from their hand. Play an Urza's Tower. Play Karn Great Creator. Alright, game's over. So their weakness is Karn Great Creator. I'm definitely bringing in the Force of Vigors, though. And I'm keeping the Surgicals for sure. All Is Dust seems bad, and so does Ugin and Kozilek. So maybe I'm supposed to cut an Ugin here. Most of their permanents are going to be colorless because of the food tokens, the artifacts, everything that isn't the Chef, Renin 6, and maybe another Planeswalker. Okay. This hand is not great, as we say in the business. Mulligan. This hand's a lot better. Like, a lot better. I'm going to keep, and I think I put back Ancient Stirrings. I think. I may have to Warping Wail early. That would be unfortunate. Opponent leads on Bauble. They draw a card, play Verdant Catacombs. We draw Expedition Map, which makes our life infinitely easier. Play Expedition Map, pass the turn. Opponent cracks Verdant Catacombs, gets a Stomping Ground tapped. They untap. They play an Urza's Saga. And they play a Void Mirror. So I'm going to crack this Expedition Map. I cannot Force of Vigor until turn 4 otherwise. I think I need to take out that Saga right now because my opponent mulligan's so low. That might mean I have to map... No, I have a forest in hand, so we're doing this. They resolve a Void Mirror. We play a forest. Pass the turn, leave up a Warping Wail, and we're going for a turn 4 Tron. Us having a forest means we can cast any of our Tron threats if we draw them, and the game is over! Yes! In your face! Food deck! Oh. Oh, I hate decks like that. I hate decks that are just a powerful pile of Modern Horizons 2 cards. Let's open up some treasure chests. I'm sorry, opponent. If I was playing across from you at the table, I would never say something like that. I would just, you know, GG, shake your hand if you wanted me to, and gotta ham it up for the camera. So first treasure chest, we get 10 play points and a Scepter of Dominance. The flavor text on that is a little bit suggestive for my liking. Treasure chest number 2, we get 5 play points, a Planar Bridge, and a Wrathy Dragon. Interesting. Treasure chest number 3, we get 35 play points, a treasure chest avatar, and a Zagoth Triome, which I don't think is worth anything on Moto. 2 tickets. Treasure chest number 4, 5 play points, a extended art Necrogoyf, and a doubling chant. Why couldn't you have been an extended art Ragavan and get me another $100? Treasure chest number 5, final treasure chest. 5 play points, a Fathom Trawl, which is a card I have never seen in my life. Been a lot of those this league. Reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal 3 non-land cards. Put the non-land cards into your hand. Rest of the revealed cards on the bottom of your... Just triple abundant. And a Halo Hunter. Alright, so let's talk about the deck, shall we? The last version of Tron that I played really struggled quite a bit. It was good. It's still a good Tron deck without the Force of Vigors and Endurance. Having finally acquired those through doing enough drafts, I can say that without a doubt, playing this way is not only far superior, but a much larger power gap than I had originally imagined. So you can play budget Tron, is what I'm getting at. If you don't have the money to afford Force of Vigor, if you don't have the money to afford Endurance or Surgical, and you just want to play Tron, you get the rest of the cards for Tron, which comparatively, I think the rest of the cards are much, much lower in cost. You can play, you can be somewhat competitive, but I think absolutely if you want to play at the highest competitiveness of the game, if you're going to a really, really big event, do not skimp on the Force of Vigors or Surgicals or Endurance. They are critical. In the current metagame, Surgical Extraction was awesome versus about every single deck we played against. There were relevant targets in each one. A lot of the combo decks, like the Cascade deck, the Calibrated Blast deck, both of those relied on a single card that if they were denied that card, they turn into a really, really bad deck. Surgical Extraction's even relevant versus Colossus Hammer. You surgically extract Colossus Hammer, then they're a really bad Metalcraft deck. I know I didn't keep Surgical in versus that deck, and I probably should have because they were playing Lurrus, and I think that maybe I should have trimmed a Noodlemog. I should have just probably cut Ugin completely and kept the Surgicals in the deck, but I mean, you learn, right? I didn't know that, and I think I definitely learned something this league. Yavimaya, my opinion has changed on that card. I think it's absolutely worth it in the current metagame. No complaints there. Warping Whale continuing to do incredible amounts of work versus so many decks. The other thing that was mentioned to me is that Saga, like Urza's Saga is an incredibly powerful card. I don't think there's anyone that's going to be arguing that. Whether or not it's bannable, like it needs to be banned, I am on the side of there are more egregious problems in the modern format than Saga, which I think is saying something. I think if I were to pick a top 5 cards to be banned from Modern, I think Urza Saga would fall at number 5 or number 6. Like, it may not even make the top 5 cards I want to see gone from the Modern format. And one of the things that guides my opinion on that, because I know that that's probably a hot take for a few people, is that Saga encourages people to run answers to enchantments. And I know Alpine Moon is like the premier answer to Saga because it prevents them from even gaining value out of it. They can't play a land, or they can't play it as a land. They can't tap it for mana. Nothing. It's just they play it. It's instantly gone. You eliminate it from the game for 1 mana. And I think that's fine for a sideboard card. But if you have an answer to Saga and you kill it either in response to its first ability, where they need the mana to tap for something, or you kill it even after they tap it for mana, like in that game versus the Void Mirror. And this is something that I didn't think was true, but if an opponent plays Saga and you kill it, they lose. Almost every time. Because the insane deck, or the insane hands for every deck running Saga rely on Saga. And this is even true for like Hammer Time. And it's one reason that Force of Vigor is so good right now is because it's a 0 mana way to answer Saga on curve. You can just continue doing whatever you were doing, especially if you're playing Tron. You don't have to pay 1 mana for Nature's Claim. You don't have to pay 2 mana for a Wilt. It's just 0 mana, get rid of this other card I'm not going to cast on curve because I don't need it, and just completely ruin my opponent's game plan. If you can destroy Saga, your opponent is so far behind because they don't have the threat that they were planning on having, they don't have the mana they were planning on having, and they don't have the card advantage they were planning on having. So in a situation like that last one where my opponent mulliganed, they were relying on that not only to generate mana for a couple of turns, but possibly to generate a threat, making the tokens. They were probably relying on like, oh, well, we're going to get the food engine, we're going to go, or we're going to go get a pithing needle or whatever it was, and they didn't have another land drop because they mulliganed, and it was just game. And I think historically, enchantments have been in this weird place in Modern where unless you're playing an answer that just destroys a non-land permanent, like unless you were playing Maelstrom Pulse or Abrupt Decay or something that like conditionally hit enchantments, like an Assassin's, well, I guess Assassin's Trophy was unconditional, but like Abrupt Decay. Unless you were playing something that conditionally hit enchantments, most people did not play any enchantment removal in the main deck, anything that hit enchantments in the main deck. It was always relegated to the sideboard, and it gave enchantment decks, or decks that conditionally ran enchantments like Ad Nauseam, an edge in the metagame. And I'm sort of okay with there being a high-powered enchantment land forcing people to run answers to enchantments in the main deck, because I feel like not every deck has to be able to answer everything, right? But I feel like enchantments kind of got this, like, had this weird niche in the metagame that they no longer have, and I'm okay with that, kind of. Now, I wish it wasn't an enchantment land. I wish it was just like a cheap enchantment that was good, that people were like, oh, I gotta have my Abrupt Decays, or I gotta have my whatever to deal with it. And I think the fact that it is an enchantment land, and that all of the non-land permanent removal was historically used against enchantments is not good, I think in general not good. But, I don't know. As a really, like, kind of lukewarm take on why I think Urza's Saga is not actually that bad, which is a hot take. I don't know. Anyway, I've rambled enough. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know the most of you have, because a lot of the people that watch this video are Tron fans. A lot of the people who are on my channel are Tron fans, and I'm sorry that I haven't been making as much constructed content. I've not been enjoying myself in constructed as much, and I'm trying to fix that. I'm trying to kind of adjust my mindset, because I'm coming to the conclusion that I understand why I'm not enjoying Modern, and it's not just like that there's a high power level card, or it's not just that there's a Ragavan, or it's not just that you can play an aggro pile, or it's not the free effects. It's the fact that and it's not even the fact that like my all-time favorite Modern deck is banned, and even if it wasn't banned wouldn't be good, which is Ad Nauseam. And I'm not talking about the new Spoils of the Vault Thassa's Oracle combo, because that is not an Ad Nauseam deck in my opinion. That is a deck that conditionally runs Ad Nauseam as like a backup way to win. The reason that I haven't been enjoying Modern as much is because Modern as an eternal format was traditionally very slow to change unless there was like a sweeping ban list that just like wiped out the top decks. Like Modern for a very long time was the same, and a lot of people wanted it to change more rapidly, and I think I was in that camp. But the reason I've not been enjoying Modern is because so much happened to change it so quickly. It's not the format I recognize, and it's not because I have to learn, it's because a lot of the strategies that I liked playing got so invalidated so quickly. And I think that's just kind of an unfortunate side effect. And I think this was inevitable with like direct to modern products, but it's also more of a modern design philosophy problem. Because really everything changed right around War of the Spark, when we started to get we got the Karn Great Creator, we got the Teferi, to a lesser extent we got 3-mana Narset right at that time. And then Modern Horizons 1 came out and brought control playable free counterspell, and just a lot of stuff happened all at once. And generally Modern was a format that like maybe once a set, once every 2 sets, 1 or 2 powerful cards from that set would work their way into Modern, change up one deck, or make a new deck, or make a new tier 3 jank deck. And so it would change very slowly. And Modern has been changing so fast. Magic has been changing so fast because of all the product they're releasing. It's fatiguing to keep up with competitive Magic, because it always has been. And I can tell that Wizards' focus is not on competitive Magic anymore. Just from the stuff that they're trying to push, the cards that they're trying to push, the product that they're trying to push. It's a great game. I think overall, I think a lot of the new players to Modern don't see a lot of the things I see as a problem with the format as an actual problem. They just, it's new to them. To me, it's not. Or it is new, but it's new in a bad way, comparably. Maybe I'm just a Magic boomer, been playing the same format for 10 freaking years. Back in my day, I should make a back in my day ad nauseum video. I could edit it like one of the old meme videos, and then just do like, well, let me tell you about the greatest combo deck ever made. It's not a bad idea, actually. I know Bone Daddy would appreciate that. But I'm trying to kind of temper my opinion because I'm tired of being negative about Magic. Magic has been such a huge part of my life, really, for so long now. It's where I went to kind of blow off steam. It's where I went to express my creativity, and it's changing because everything changes eventually, but I'm tired of being negative about it. I'm tired of having a negative opinion, even if I feel like that opinion's correct, especially about cards like Ragavan and Dragon's Rage Channeler and Bauble and Luris, and I don't want to think that way, and I don't want my videos to always be that way. So I'm trying to find wrinkles in the modern metagame that I can get excited about Magic. It's why I've been playing so much Limited, especially so much Modern Horizons, because Modern Horizons Limited is really fun. It's a high-powered Limited format. It's one reason that I've generally liked Cube. I'm kind of hoping Vintage Cube returns again. There's a Legacy Cube that's out. I've not really been interested in playing Legacy Cube, but I'm working on it. And I'm sorry, I've not been able to get to everybody's comments. That's another thing that I need to mention really, really quick. I'm sorry I'm rambling so much, and I probably should have front-loaded some of this information that was relevant for like channel purposes, but I've not been able to respond to everybody in the YouTube comments. A few people were private messaging me on Discord. A few people, like in other ways, are trying to get my attention, and I've been really busy. I've been sorting out a lot of real-life stuff, especially related to my car, mostly, but I recently got asked to officiate one of my best friend's weddings, so I've been like trying to get ordained to be a minister, because that's the only way I can do it in the state that they're in, and then I gotta write the ceremony, and like it's at the end of October, and it's soon, and it's very stressful, and so like I got a whole bunch of stuff that I gotta do, and I can't give everybody the attention that I want to give. I can't interact as much as I want to, and so please don't be offended if you try and get a hold of me or you try and message me. Especially like, if you're just saying hi, I can say hi generally, but like if you're asking for much more in depth of me that doesn't relate directly to what I'm doing on the channel, or if you're not interacting with me on stream for at least the next little bit, I'm probably going to be slightly more unavailable than I normally am, and I apologize because it makes me feel really bad. And I understand that I can't please everybody, but interacting with you guys, interacting with my audience is one of my favorite things to do. It's one of the reasons that I do this, besides getting to play Magic, is evaluating strategy, making suggestions on decks, getting suggestions, getting feedback. Kano, you're a moron. Why'd you play this card? Why didn't you play that other card? I love that kind of stuff, actually. It's a lot of fun, and I'm sorry that I've not been able to interact much. Anyway, I gotta stop rambling. Porter's trying to get my attention. He's been over here loving on me. You probably have seen him over in the corner of the camera and me petting on him. But y'all are wonderful human beings. I really, really appreciate your viewership. I'm going to try and improve the content for the channel. I'm going to try and get more constructed stuff done. I'm going to try and stop being so negative about constructed, because even though there are things I don't like and can't change, I can't change them. So I'm just going to deal with it, or try. But yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Bye. Hey, just wanted to give a shout out to my patrons for the month of August. You guys are wonderful, and I really appreciate your support. It's been helping me make a lot of good content. If you want your name to show up in this list, there's a link to my Patreon in the description down below if you want to support this channel. Thank you so much.